And let's not forget John Bird over there, who's working very diligently to get that big Leland Live logo out of my face. Yeah, it's kind of fun looking. All right. Anyway, hey, welcome into the show. Hope everything is going well. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm here. I'm
Yeah,
making it.
I got you. Adjust that. Move that right there. There we go. Okay. Plenty to get to, and that does include actually a race that happened last night. We're going to give you all the details on all of that here in a moment. First things first, as we get into the recap here, it's Mother's Day weekend. So to all the moms out there, thank you very much for everything that you do. We appreciate you very, very much. And if you're like me and you lost your mom some time ago, be in prayers for those who have lost their moms and can't spend any time with them this weekend, okay? Formula E, as we get into the race recap and start to work on the schedule of this weekend, Formula E got themselves a new winner Saturday morning. Nico Muller brought his Porsche home in his home country, or in their home country race. They were in Berlin, first of a doubleheader weekend for the all-electric series. Muller had a strategy worked to perfection. He was ahead of second place by almost 5 seconds at the checkered flag. Nick Cassidy was that second-place finisher, trailed by Oliver Rowland, Eduardo Mortara, Jake Dennis, Mitch Evans, Joseph Maria Marti, Taylor Bernard, Nick DeVries, and Antonio Felix da Costa. Now, I mentioned that this is a doubleheader weekend, so we'll talk standings after we get the second half of that done. And then that brings us to the meat of the weekend, and start talking a little bit of NASCAR here. We go to Texas specifically. After the final pit stop Saturday afternoon in Texas for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race, the crew chief for Justin Allgaier told his driver, don't be intimidated by the fact that you got a moonlighter in front of you by the name of Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson's no slouch on these intermediate tracks like Texas.
Correct.
And then you put a guy with his kind of experience in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race, and you can see why intimidation might be a factor.
Correct.
Allgaier made a run. Came close.
Yeah, he was close, but just
not close short. Enough.
Yep.
Yeah. He led Larson to say he didn't think he had a chance to win with Allgaier coming on like he was. For Kyle Larson to say that is a big feather in the cap for Justin Allgaier.
It is. It's very solid. I mean, the race at the end was a little bit questionable with how they were racing each other, but,
yeah,
part of it.
It is. It's part of it. Sometimes you got to go with those guys who are more experienced than you sometimes, and who knows, sometimes you win. Foreshadowing. Larson wins, Allgaier second by less than 0.3 of a second, followed by Sam Mayer, Brent Cruz, Parker Retzlaff, Sheldon Creed, Austin Hill, Brandon Jones, Jesse Love, and Jeremy Clements making up the top 10. Larson obviously not running for points in the series. Allgaier just stretches his lead out over Sheldon Creed. It's now up to 121 points. Jesse Love is third, Corey Day fourth, Brandon Jones, Sammy Smith, Austin Hill, Carson Kvapil, Parker Retzlaff, Taylor Gray, William Sawalich, and Sam Mayer make up the 12 that would be in the chase at this time. Mayer's only 8 points on Ryan Sieg for the final slot. So even though there's this big gap between first and second, everything else tightens up as you start to go down.
Yeah, it does.
Is this what we were envisioning, though, when we went to points and points only? Wins, quote unquote, don't matter. I mean, I get it. You get more points for the wins, but
yeah and no. Yeah, as in, you're racing because points do matter.
Sure.
In motorsports.
Oh, yeah.
How you accumulate the points. But at the same time, wins do matter as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
So
if you think about it, what do we find? What do we figure out that the max points 71?
76.
76. Thank you. Okay. 55 for the win, 10 for winning each stage, and then the fastest lap.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So, yeah, you can, especially if you get on a roll, Tyler Reddick, you can really start to build up a big lead. But over the course of a season, this should level out because you get a driver who is just constantly sitting there and pulling off top 10 after top 10 with a top 5, maybe even a win thrown in there.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to catch up as opposed to a guy who, may win 5 races, but then he may go DNF in 3 or 4.
Yeah. And those DNF, like back the old days, the DNFs would wash themselves out.
Right.
And it tightened the race up. But when you have somebody on a roll like Justin Allgaier and Tyler Reddick,
Yeah.
you're
waiting for the DNFs.
You're waiting for them, one. Two, there can be that snooze fest kind of
Can be. Yeah.
setup, if you want to call it that.
Well, and let's face it, no system's perfect. Every system's got its flaws. Playoff system had its flaws. Chase system, when it came around the first time and now re-implemented, had its flaws. And the original one where you went from race 1 to race 36 or season beginning to season end doing nothing but counting points, that had its flaws too.
Yeah.
They all do.
It does. I mean, in with the way the system is now, say we're going into Talladega in the fall, and Tyler Reddick's got this kind of a lead, and there's no chase, and it's the old school format. They could be handing him the trophy at Talladega.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
there is that possibility.
Yeah, there is that possibility. And you can call in, let us know what you think about it, 205-545-9950. Believe, I don't have it set up on my computer, but I'll task John Bird to do this, to monitor the text line and see if we get interaction there. How's that? Sunday morning in Germany, second half of the Berlin E-Prix doubleheader. Mitch Evans needed a great strategy. He started 17th. He did it. He worked it to perfection, moved up from that bad qualifying slot, claims the win. We don't see this much in the formulas. I don't care whether it's Formula One or Formula E. You start 17th. We're not talking about you winning as a general rule.
No.
Good run on his part. Oliver Rowland, second, who apparently decided, you know what, Mitch Evans has got something good. I'll just follow him. He ran up the field from 18th to second. Pair relegated pole sitter Pascal Wehrlein to third. Sebastian Buemi fourth. Norman Nato fifth. Jake Dennis, Eduardo Matara, Jean-Eric Verne. Felipe Drugovich, we'll talk about him a little bit later on in the show as well. And Joel Eriksson filled out the top 10. So Wehrlein comes out of the weekend first in points, 101 to 98 for Mitch Evans. Eduardo Matara, 93. 83 for Oliver Rowland. Nico Muller's win on Saturday jumped him up. He's now got 75. Porsche leaves Berlin. They lead in team points, 176 to 163. Grab that. There we go. Over Jaguar. Mahindra next, 107. 94 for Nissan. Citroen, 83. Envision, 75. Andretti in there with 68. This was a championship-winning team just a couple of years ago. 47 for Cooper Kiro. DS Penske has 26. We'll get more information on them later in the show as well. And Lola with the grand total of 1 point. They need help. Let's just put it that way.
Well, there goes one of my predictions I had.
Yeah, unfortunately. I don't know. Let me see. They've got until July. Good luck. Porsche leads the manufacturer standings, 228 to Jaguars, 214. Stellantis, 123. 116 for Nissan. Mahindra, 107. Lola's got 24. Then the NHRA Southern Nationals are back. Now, this is an Atlanta dragway. That is now owned by the IHRA. So the NHRA went to South Georgia Motorsports Park in Adel. Nice track. Fast track. We talked about it here last week on the show. Finals weren't as quick as what we were talking about, but we did see, and the funny thing was, is it actually popped Richard Dixon's eyebrows enough to the point where he mentioned it during the week on the show, 345 miles per hour for a top fueler in qualifying.
345 for a top fueler. Like you said, in qualifying, in the South, in humid weather. So,
how soon before we start to pop towards 350?
You get it a situation where the weather hits perfect and the air is just right. Yeah, I could see 350 before the end of the year.
Yeah, and we were thinking, next couple of years, because we talked about this. Beginning of the year? Beginning of the calendar year. I'm not talking about the beginning of the race season. Beginning of the calendar year, we were talking about it, and we were thinking, yeah, we might see 345 by the end of the year. Now we're talking maybe 350 by the end of the year.
There were 3 top fuelers that broke 340, and one funny car that was knocking on the door of 340.
Yeah, for funny car to be doing that. Good night.
Yeah.
Well, things calmed down a little bit. When we got to the finals, the top fuel, Sean Langdon took on Doug Kalitta. Langdon, a little bit quicker reaction time, paid off for him at the other end. He got the win, pulling a 3.808 ET, elapsed time, 333.16 miles per hour, marks his second win of the year, 24th of his career. In funny car, J.R. Todd taking on Jordan Vandergriff. While Todd was quicker off the light, Vandergriff cruises because Todd lost traction. So Vandergriff gets his first funny car win. Mm-hmm. Not an overly spectacular run, 4.007 second ET, 314.17. Leads me to think that maybe he might have been having some troubles or he backed off. One of the two. I didn't get to watch the
He
finals.
he broke loose at the end of the track.
Okay, that explains it.
Broke loose.
Dallas Glenn, Troy Coughlin Jr. were the Pro Stock car finalists. Glenn with the quicker reaction time. He goes on to the win. 6.642 ET, 211.39 miles per hour. This marks win number 2 on the season for him and the 23rd of his career so far. And then we get to Pro Stock Motorcycle, the finalist Richard Gadsden versus Matt Smith. Gadsden gets a jump off the light, but Smith shows big power. He's ahead by the 60-foot mark. He claims the win. 6.724 ET, 202.06 miles per hour on a motorcycle. You got guts, boys.
Yep.
First win of his for the year, 43rd national event win of his career to date.
Mm-hmm.
Standings have in Top Fuel, Sean Langdon leading by only 4 over Doug Kalita, then Leah Pruitt, Tony Stewart, Tony Stewart, and Josh Hart. Funny Cars leader, J.R. Todd, he's up 3 on Ron Capps, followed by Matt Hagan, Jordan Vandergriff, and Chad Green. Pro Stock Car, Dallas Glenn's up 76 on Greg Anderson. Matt Hartford, Greg Stanfield, Matt Latino fill out the top 5. And in Pro Stock Motorcycle, points are topped by Matt Smith, then Richard Gadsden, Gage Herrera, Angie Smith, and Clayton Howie. And that brings us to Formula One. Formula One, because of the weather in Miami, they decided to move up the start about an hour. And we didn't get to this last week, but I think it's important to note why.
They actually moved it up 3 hours.
I thought it was 1 hour. Okay.
It was 3.
All right. They wanted to beat the rain. And if you've ever tried to go watch a race in Florida, it rains a lot.
Yep.
But rules, funny enough, in Europe are very different than they are in the United States of America.
They are. That they are.
For example, they can race in a thunderstorm in Europe. We, on the other hand, can't, because we've got this law that states if you're doing massive crowds like this and there's lightning within a, 8-mile radius?
8 miles. Yep.
Everything gets put on hold. Football games, baseball games, races. So they wanted to beat this. And they did. They did a nice job. It started raining sometime shortly after they got done.
Mm-hmm.
They did get it in. When all was said and done, your pole sitter, Kimi Antonelli, overcame an early burst from Charles Leclerc. He gets the win. In the process, becomes the first driver in F1 history to claim his first 3 wins from his first 3 pole positions.
Mercedes has caught steam.
That they have.
They've caught steam.
Antonelli also adds his name to a rather distinctive list. To get 3 wins in a row, he's only the 24th driver to claim 3. Oh gosh, I forget what the exact stat was. Man, now I've lost it. He's only the 24th driver though to do what he's done. I'd have to go back and look it up, but it's a very, very small list. And Kimi Antonelli, at the ripe old age of 19?
19.
Is really starting to make a name for himself. Good job by Kimi Antonelli. I mean, it's just amazing. Antonelli wins, trailed by the McLarens of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Second Mercedes of George Russell then finishes 4th. Max Verstappen in 5th. Car seemed to be a little bit better for the guys over at Red Bull. I don't know whether this was the slight change in the rules or he just had a better day.
It wasn't really so much. I don't think it was so much as a change in the rules. Mm-hmm. It's just they had the car actually dialed in because he was in 3rd for the longest time. And then he stayed out in an extended period and faded a little bit. But until Charles Leclerc absolutely just goofed it up on the last lap, he got back up to – he failed a 6th, got back up to 4th, got passed in one of the last corners, but the other one of the cars went wide, and he was able to shoot back around and get a top 5.
There you go. Max Verstappen trailed by Lewis Hamilton, Franco Colapinto, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Alex Albon. In points, Antonelli's out front, got 100 points. His teammate Russell second with 80. Charles Leclerc's next at 59, Lando Norris with 51. He and Lewis Hamilton tied at that mark. Mercedes leads the team standings 180 to Ferrari's 110. Ooh. McLaren, the defending champion, is 3rd with 94. They're missing something over there. Red Bull, 30. Speaking of missing something. 23 for Alpine. Haas F1 has 18. 14 for Racing Bulls. Williams got on the board. They've got 5 now. Audi's got 2 in their first year. And the 2 lone scoreless teams, Aston Martin and Cadillac. Those 2 teams yet to claim a championship point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's kind of talk about blowing preseason predictions. I thought Cadillac was going to do better than this. I really did. Then we head back to Texas for our final review Cup Series race. After a late race caution, Chase Elliott bested Denny Hamlin to go on and get the win, leaving Denny Hamlin in second. Alex Bowman third, Tyler Reddick fourth, Chris Buescher fifth, then Daniel Suarez, Carson Hocevar, William Byron, Bubba Wallace, and Ryan Blaney make up the top 10 for Texas. In what was, I'm not going to say a boring race, but truth be told, it was kind of a road race. Not really a whole lot of things that just made you sit up on the edge of your seat.
I was somewhat surprised.
I was too. I was expecting a little more out of this.
I was somewhat surprised.
Yeah, and I don't know whether it's the characteristics of Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I think it's part of that because and this is the reason I say that because this is the reason I say what I'm going to say. Excuse me, because they've done a recent rescan via the iRacing racing simulation, and from what it was last year to what it was this year, it's a massive difference in cars being of how they drive.
Well, and then you and I have talked about it. This car is really set up very, very well to do very well at these 1.5 mile intermediate tracks.
Sure.
And that's why I asked the question. Is it Texas?
I combined 2 days worth in a cup car and 2 cup races on iRacing. I ran 250 laps at Texas. And it's cars that fade big time.
I got you.
Big
Okay.
time.
Tyler Reddick still leads points by 109 over Denny Hamlin. Third is Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney fourth, Chris Buescher fifth. Carson Hocevar, Ty Gibbs, Kyle Larson. The rest of the 16 in the chase at this time are Brad Keselowski, William Byron, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece, Christopher Bell, Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, and then there's Chase Briscoe, who continues his ping-ponging in and out of the chase. He did good enough and took advantage of Joey Logano just having a horrible day. And Chase Briscoe is now 7 points ahead of Joey Logano for that final chase slot. We'll see where it goes. All right, so this weekend's slate we're going to get to right after we take this break. We're a little bit late on that, but that's okay. We're not ridiculously bad on it. And this weekend's slate also begins, by the way, with a race that happened yesterday. And we're starting to see some similarities this weekend to what we saw a couple of weekends ago at Talladega. We'll fill you in on exactly what we're talking about as we get this thing really running under its own power right after this break. Thank you for coming in and checking out this morning's edition, the Mother's Day weekend edition of CRN. Those of you who are regular listeners here to Talk 99.5, you know we have TV monitors up on the screens here just in case something happens. And totally unracing related, I'll go ahead and admit to this. But
yeah, this is weird.
So the headline is that a Frontier flight struck a person on the runway in Denver. I've been to the Denver airport. I think you have too.
I have not.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
No.
I've been to the Denver airport. It's a big airport. It's a hub.
Sure.
Okay. It's Atlanta. It's Charlotte. It's a hub. It's a very large airport. How in the world did somebody get out on the runway at a time when planes are taking off?
At night.
That's a big time security problem.
Oh boy.
Watch where you are, folks.
Whew.
On a lighter note, being Mother's Day weekend, our fine friends and sponsors at Cat and Bird Winery are holding a Mother's Day brunch today. Go onto their social media. There you can buy the tickets, $35, all-you-can-eat buffet. Take mom and basically spend the day out there. And today is going to turn out to be a very nice day. We got the rain pass this morning. Should turn out to be maybe a little cool. You were mentioning it. T-shirt and flops might have been the bad move.
I picked a bad day to wear shorts.
Shorts and sandals. But so, dress kind of appropriately. But for Mom's Day, take her to the winery, get a buffet. Can't complain about that. Mom's Mother's Day brunch. I mean, what mom doesn't like brunch? And you're at a winery to boot. Can't beat that. Cat and Bird Winery, 11661 Old Highway 280 out in Chelsea. Go by, say hello, and if you mention that you heard about it right here on CRN, they'll give you 10% off your order. There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so this weekend, the slate of racing actually started yesterday. 2 races out there. We don't generally cover the ARCA Menard Series, but they did run yesterday. Mm-hmm. And then the Craftsman Truck Series race ran the Bully Hill Vineyards 176 at the Glen. All of this, again, Watkins Glen International Raceway. We'll give you the details on it here in just a couple of moments. Matt, this weekend, at least if you judge it by what happened yesterday, shaping up like Talladega a couple of weeks ago. If you remember, Talladega, 3 races, ARCA Menards, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and Cup, and first-time winners for each of those series. Mm-hmm. First-time winners yesterday, too, in the ARCA Menards and the Truck Series. Turns out it was the same guy.
Yeah, it was the same guy, and it was it was pretty popular victory,
Sure.
if you ask me. I mean, because it was, considering the truck that he's in, it's been not a matter of if, but when.
Oh, I agree.
So completing the sweep yesterday, I'll say it that much, was Caden Honeycutt.
Nice.
And he pulled it off led only the last 2 laps, and it was on the overtime restart, in which I'm still scratching my head on this one, because why Connor Zilisch? Why did you give him the bottom?
Yeah, I don't know.
You gave him the bottom going into turn 1 at Watkins Glen on a right-hander.
Yeah.
He's got the preferred line.
Yeah,
But
baffling move, but that's what he chose.
But yeah, it's what it is. Caden Honeycutt got his first win. Zilisch in second. Shane Van Gisbergen in third. He was really not a threat all day long.
But think about that for just a moment. Caden Honeycutt beats 2 road course aces in Connor Zilisch and SVG.
Oh, and it gets better.
That's an impressive win. And like you said, it gets better.
It gets better. Daniel Hemrick 4th, Chandler Smith 5th, AJ Allmendinger 6th.
Nice run for Ram, though. And I think putting him in that truck is going to help them understand a little bit more about their program.
It will. Brent Cruz in 7th. Minnie Tyrell in another Ram getting a top 10 in 8th. Brendan Queen, a 3rd Ram in the top 10 in 9th. And another road course ringer, Connor Mozak, rounding out the top 10.
And I heard at some point in time, because I listened to it on the NASCAR Racing Network through Sirius XM yesterday. I listened to the overtime. And in listening to it, basically AJ Allmendinger gave the other 4 drivers within the Ram field a bit of a tip. Hey, listen, just keep your truck clean. Try and stay out of trouble. Don't try and get into anything. Don't try and force an issue. Let everybody else force the issue and mess up.
Right.
And when you do that, boom, 4 of your trucks suddenly show up in the top 10. Mm-hmm. Not bad at all. Maybe it's a turning point for them, we hope. Caden Honeycutt leads in points 312 to 283 over Chandler Smith, followed by Lane Riggs, Gio Ruggiero, Christian Eckes, Ben Rhodes, Ty Majeski, Corey Heim, Tyler Ankrum, and Daniel Hemrick. 10 trucks will make the chase, so Daniel Hemrick is 10th. Stuart Friesen, the driver-owner, 7 points just outside for that final Truck Series chase slot. So today, another kind of busy weekend here. Today, IHRA getting in the IHRA Spring Nationals at National Trail Raceway in Hebron, Ohio. They'll get into the finals this afternoon. Flow Racing? Or no, IHRA.
Speed Sport TV.
Speed Sport TV, thank you. It seems to change on me.
It's probably a good thing that it did get moved out of Montgomery today because it is coming an absolute deluge in Montgomery right now. One.
Yeah, they'd have a hard time getting it in.
I caught a little bit of the qualifying rounds last night and watched it via the IHRA YouTube channel through Speed Sport. The track prep has been absolutely atrocious.
Oh.
Cars cannot hold in either lane in qualifying hardly. Terry Haddock in Funny Car nearly had a disaster happen because as soon as he launched off the line and put the throttle on the ground, car broke loose, hit the outside wall in the right-hand lane, and if he had hit it at a little bit more of an angle, he would have went over the wall with spectators standing right there.
Not good.
It's not very good.
All right, we got something to work on there, guys. O'Reilly Auto Parts Series will then take off, and they'll be racing at Watkins Glen International. This road course, the Mission 200 at the Glen, 2.45 miles long. Technically 7 turns because they consider that bus stop chicane along the backstretch. They're not really considering that as kind of a part of it in some ways. Upstate New York, beautiful place. In the springtime, should be nice, green, and lush. CW has the TV side of it. MRN Radio has the radio side, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time. Sunday's racing slate includes the Cup Series running the Go Bowling at the Glen. Same course as the trucks. O'Reilly are either ran or will run. 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time airs on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio. And over on Fox, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Central Time, Sancio Grand Prix for IndyCar. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, 2.43 miles long, 14 turns. That'll be heard on IRN Radio as well as seen on Fox. Formula E, Formula One, NHRA, IROC, all off this weekend. In fact, IROC doesn't have anything else scheduled for the year. We'll let you know if that changes. Otherwise, I'll probably drop them off of the idle this weekend because, again, nothing scheduled for the rest of the year. So, yeah, fairly busy weekend here. As noted, this is where we're going to start to get to some pictures. So if you happen to be watching on CRN Live on YouTube, you'll be able to see some things here that'll kind of give you a better idea of what we're talking about. Talking about Watkins Glen International, if you watched the Truck Series race last night, you might have noted and or have been told about some, for lack of a better term, new restrictions. NASCAR's starting to implement track limits there like they did for a couple of turns over at COTA, and you and I kind of questioned that when that happened. I got to admit, I'm kind of questioning this as well. But let's get the details, and then we'll chat about it. So the details are, in this case, tire barriers, or tire packs, are being set up through the exit of Turn 1 and also just after Turn 5, that area known as the carousel. And they're basically just trying to keep drivers from getting too far off the main racing surface, which suddenly it's a problem for NASCAR. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand this. Every once in a while, you get a driver that goes way out and they misjudge it, and maybe they hit the corner of the guardrail and it causes them to get wrecked and maybe shoots them out into traffic. Okay, that happens rarely, but it has happened. But has it happened enough to the point where we have to install these tire packs to limit their ability to get around this track?
I'll say this. Now, off of the carousel down into Turn 6 on one of the next longest straightaways that got there, I can see it to a degree. Because the last few years, within each of the respective races, and that could be anywhere from ARCA all the way up to Cup, there's been some pretty large crashes off of that carousel corner with people going wide, fading back into the track, and not blending in correctly. One, because there is a lack of spotters on that side of the racetrack.
Okay.
You see my facial expression on CRN
Yeah,
Live.
I do.
Secondly, you got that wide area that used to be grass and gravel. Now it's paved, so that's just extra room to be able to get a harder launch and try to get a bigger run. Okay, I can see that side of being able to cut down on those accents because those accents have gotten pretty large over there. I have recognized, and a lot of people recognize. But turn one, I don't understand it. It's really not Calamity Corner with people going off wide because you've got an angle. You got spotters right there in one, and you've got some spotters coming up the S's.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got two sets of eyes on that area right there. So I really don't understand turn one. 5, I can see. But 1, I don't understand.
This is that weird situation where you fix a problem and you create another one. Law of unintended consequences, basically.
True.
I remember back when coming off of turn 1, that was a gravel pit.
It was gravel. I remember gravel. I remember it being grass.
Yeah.
Everything.
And at one point in time, Jimmy Johnson, very, very young in his NASCAR career, and I want to say his brakes failed going down the front stretch.
2001.
And he tried to turn that wheel real hard, and what he ended up doing was would have been cutting turn 1 short by going through the grass. Yep. But the car just kept going straight, and I mean, it was cooking because, again, he had no brakes. He had no way to stop it. And he went barreling through and shot over and into the tire barrier that is just up against the outside guardrail there. Mm-hmm. So they said they decided, I can't even remember when they decided to do it, but they decided to pave that area coming off of turn 1.
I think it was 05 or 06.
Okay. So now you don't have a gravel pit to dissuade people from going too far out there. So what do the drivers do? They take advantage of it because you didn't tell them that they couldn't go over the rumble strips and not use that area, so they did.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of ways, we have created this problem on our own. And now you're going to try and fix this by doing this situation in where you're putting tire packs out there. And that first one, by the way, they say is optional. They are going to talk to the drivers after what happened yesterday and doing some practice. And they may decide to get rid of tire pack number 1 coming off of turn 1, or they may decide to keep it. But if somebody loses it and does it in the wrong direction, where's that tire pack going to go?
Likely on the racetrack.
Back out into traffic. So what's worse, having a tire pack out in traffic or a car out in traffic? When you got cars doing 100+ miles per hour, I don't think it matters which one's out there.
I don't understand why all of a sudden we're trying to be like F1 and put track limits in.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
These drivers, they make a mistake and they go out too wide and they don't get back into traffic soon enough. Sorry, I kind of agree. These are the consequences of road course racing. Or truth be told, the consequences of racing. Really doesn't matter what the track is. If you are not paying attention to the limits that are already on the track, not the ones that are artificially implemented, but the ones that are just naturally there because of walls and or safer barriers, well, there's the consequences of racing. It's the way that it is.
Yep.
When we come back, that schedule when it comes to Watkins Glen, we kind of questioned it because it moved us up into the spring. And we looked at it and went, okay, well, it's going to be pretty, but we don't know what the weather's going to be like. Witness right now, we're May 9th in the state of Alabama, and it's 64 degrees outside. What do you think it is in New York?
Yeah, it was kind of cold yesterday up there.
Yeah. So while we don't have the full schedule yet, we've got a little bit of a glimpse into what the 2027 schedule is going to look like. We'll talk about it next. Welcome back into the show. Steve West and Matt Nicholson. Producer John Myers on CRN Live on YouTube. John Bird covering everything here at our flagship, Talk 99.5. Appreciate everybody. And thank you for checking us out. We do appreciate it. Phone lines are open, 205-545-9950, or you can text, call, text, pick whichever. Love to have the interaction. Now, when we talked about the 2026 schedule last year, we kind of thought this seems an odd thing to do. They moved Watkins Glen up from its regular summer date into early May this weekend. That appears to be a one-year experiment. And it's probably the right thing to do, truth be told. Again, you're still at a point right now where you're not really sure what the weather's going to do. And again, here in Alabama, it's May 9th. We're at 64 degrees on a Saturday morning, which is below normal. Let's just put it that way. And you're still kind of dealing with some of the melt, the rain up
the
there.
Spring thaw, yeah.
This and Watkins Glen is very, very well known for its camping. They love to camp out there.
Oh, yeah, and there's been a major problem already with them having to have records pulling campers and vehicles out of the mud.
So kind of seems like a bad idea now in retrospect, doesn't it?
Not a good idea to do that. So it's just like, hey, oops, sorry, we messed up.
Yeah. So even though we're still probably a few months from learning what the 2027 NASCAR schedules are going to be, we know Watkins Glen is going to move back on the schedule, and actually a bit further than usual. We've been told that for the 2027 season, the road course, Watkins Glen, will move back far enough to become part of the 10-race chase. It appears to be the one road course in the chase, according to those who have a very preliminary draft of the 2027 schedule. Remember, Charlotte Motor Speedway dropped the Roval. This year, they're not going to race on the Roval during the chase. They're going to race on the actual intermediate oval where they're going to be running the Coca-Cola 600 here in a couple of weeks. So there's actually no road course on the chase schedule this year. And to me, that's a bit of a situation. I'm a noted road course fan, and there are people out there I know who don't love them. But to me, if you're going to race on a road course and an intermediate oval and a super speedway and a short track, and you're going to set up your champion over a 10-race slate, you ought to have a microcosm of what the rest of the schedule looks like. So to me, you need to have one super speedway. We've got it. It's Talladega. You need to have at least one short track. We certainly take care of that. Mm-hmm. Martinsville, obviously, it's the second to last race. We've got a number of the intermediate tracks that are in there. You should have one. I certainly don't think you need more than one in the chase, but I think you should have one road course in the chase. Make the drivers run every kind of style of racetrack that you have at least one time in the chase.
Yeah, and you know, instead of being what we call a hybrid road course,
it's an actual road course.
It's a dedicated road course. And I can live with Watkins Glen being in there. Roval, I just had a hard time buying in there because it's not a dedicated road course.
You and I went there, and it put on an interesting show in person, but at the same time, it's just not. It's not.
It's definitely not.
Yeah, I can't figure out a better way to put that other than it's just not quite what I was looking for.
Yep.
So as a follow-up to that Greg Biffle story that we had about his home break-in after the plane crash that killed his family, we talked about it on the show last week. Let's give you some more details here. North Carolina authorities have been busy. They have served more than 40 search warrants, mostly focusing on one married couple who had known the Biffles from the time that Greg used his own helicopter to deliver aid following Hurricane Helene, which devastated the western part of North Carolina and eastern part of Tennessee. Probably remember that from a few years ago. Well, after that initial meeting, his wife reportedly attended the Biffles' Christmas party held at their Mooresville, North Carolina home, and this was just days before the fated plane crash. January 8th was the break-in, according to reports, and it reveals some $30,000 in cash was stolen, maybe more, along with 2 Glock handguns, a good amount of NASCAR memorabilia. Handguns you can kind of pawn and get rid of. NASCAR memorabilia of a certain stature, much more difficult to get rid of. Especially if you're talking about stuff that Greg Biffle's got. This is one-of-a-kind stuff, like trophies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, consider most of them now just have winner on the trophy, they don't have the actual driver's name engraved on it like they used to in the old days.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that would be absolutely hard to get rid of, especially if they stole any fire suits or helmets or anything.
Ooh, yeah.
You're gonna know a sponsor. What are you doing with Greg Biffle's helmet?
Mm-hmm.
It's not Biffle's helmet. Yeah, it is. A Subway and Ford. That's Greg Biffle.
Uh-huh. Checking surveillance video from inside the home from the security company, authorities state that a person, identified as a woman, was familiar with the home's layout, spent several hours the night of January 7th into the morning of January 8th in the home. Further investigative action shows that a cell phone and other devices that belong to the couple, who, by the way, have yet to be identified, on the Biffle property at the time, when only administrators of the estate were legally allowed on the property, but none were present at that time. In addition, North Carolina has license plate readers. Beware going through the Tar Heel state, ladies and gentlemen. North Carolina license plate readers showed that the couple's pickup near the home that night. John Bird, by the way, is giving thumbs up to that because he knows. He's been there. Authorities are also investigating some bank fraud and Venmo attempted fraud related to the Biffle estate. At this time, the couple do not appear to be suspects in relation to that. That will go to that email that we were talking about last week where the person emailed them after the plane crash and the confirmed death of Biffle, his family, and the pilots.
Yep.
And sent an email to the Biffle email that said, "Heard you're dead, rest in hell." Classy. I don't care if you hate that person with a passion. I don't care what they did to you or what you did to them.
That's something you don't say.
You don't do that.
No.
That's
Not at
just
all.
unbelievable.
Yep. It's pretty bad.
So we'll keep up with this. And on a slightly better note, Mark Martin sat down with a noted journalist named Mark Bones Boursier, worked on his autobiography. It's almost ready. So Mark Martin fans, be prepared. It's a rather lengthy book. 544-page book to be entitled Mark Martin Never Lift. It's going to hit stores in August. It's released by Octane Press. Pre-orders are available now on places like Amazon or probably your favorite book retailer, whatever that might be. This probably will be a very fascinating book when you consider Mark Martin, and he's not as blunt, let me put it that way, as a Kyle Busch or a Denny Hamlin, who's got a podcast. But Mark Martin is no shrinking violet. If he has a strong feeling about something, he'll let you know.
Yeah, it is on pre-order on Amazon.
Okay. And that is, by the way, to the best of my knowledge, what you see on CRN Live, the actual book cover, as it will look when it hits store shelves.
Mm-hmm.
So this could actually be a very fascinating book. I think it'd be a lot of fun to read about.
Yep.
All right, let's switch gears here. Let's get into what arguably, I'll put it this way, is the biggest story of the week. And it's something that we talked about on Cross Flags on the podcast. We talked about it much more in depth than what we're going to do here in the limited time that we got left in the hour. But I think it's worth revisiting here. FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem wants the return of the V8 engine to Formula One. I'll
Cheers.
start. I'll start.
Cheers
right
to
here.
that.
Love it. Currently, Formula One's using the twin-turbo V6 hybrid power unit. They've been using it since 2013. Before that, we've seen V12s, V8s, V10s, all of those with no turbos, no hybrids. So the question becomes, if you did return to the V8, would it just be the naturally aspirated V8?
It should be.
We'll get back to that. Ben Sulayem said he wants to see it by the 2031 season at the latest, but he's actually pushing for them to be back to V8s by 2030. As it turns out, Mercedes, the current leader in the Constructors' Cup standings, they're actually behind this as well. They like this idea. But it also wasn't long before there was a little bit of pushback. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff at first had praise for the idea and said, quote, "From a Mercedes standpoint, we're open to new engine regulations." After last Sunday's race, he added this, quote, "We love V8s. It has only great memories, and from our perspective, it's a pure Mercedes engine. It revs high." How important is that, by the way? Why would he mention revving high?
High revs mean more horsepower.
Okay.
A lot more horsepower.
And think about it. These guys are pushing 1,000 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Then Toto Wolff turned around and devil's advocate and looked at the other side of it. How do we give it enough energy from the battery side not to lose connection to the real world? Because if we sing 100% combustion, it might be looking a bit ridiculous in 2031 or 2030. Really? He adds, we need to consider that, make it simpler, make it a mega engine. Maybe we extract 800 horsepower out of the internal combustion engine. And in terms of adding in electric energy, hybrid system, put another 400 on top of it, maybe more. We're absolutely up for it as long as these discussions happen in a structured way with people's consideration being taken on board. We recognize the financial realities of the OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers these days. We don't have it easy, but if it's well planned and executed, we Mercedes are happy to come back with a real racing engine. Well, yeah. Or why wouldn't you be?
They go to V8s, it'll be just a matter of time before IndyCar goes back to V8s.
Oh, yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly.
It's from a sound standpoint, everybody prefers V8s over V6s.
Yeah, listen to the two of them side by side.
Preferably.
Tell me you don't prefer the V8.
Preferably, yep. I can remember the old days of when the back then Busch series with the V6s compared to Cup Cars V8.
Well, and all right, let's put it on a more local level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was PA announcer out at the old Birmingham International Raceway. You've raced at a vast number of short tracks around the southeastern part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
You have seen many different divisions of these cars, and I have as well. I've seen the modifieds and the late models with big old V8s under the hood.
Yep.
And I've seen lesser divisions that have V6s. I've even seen what we called, and I know it's what I called it what we called it a BIR. Some other short tracks call it different things. We called it the Buzz division.
Yep.
And this was just a little 4-cylinder car that effectively you just got rid of all of the stuff that could break, glass, headlights, stuff like that, replaced it with Lexan, put a roll cage in there, and otherwise it was a bone stock little 4-cylinder like you drive off the showroom lot.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, that constant high level one. Guess we're going to break. We'll be back. All right. Welcome into hour 2 of CRN for this Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Dads, kids, take care of mom this week. Little extra care. How's that? So when we left off, we were talking about Formula One, talking about going back to V8 engines. Mercedes is worried about whether or not they continue with hybrid power. To me, that's the least of your worries.
Oh, yeah.
Again, this is a sound situation, okay? And as I was talking about, Matt with his experience at short tracks all around the Southeast, me having done PA workout at Birmingham International Raceway, may it rest in peace. That very, very beginner division that we call the Buzz division, little four-cylinder cars. I mean, at full song, those things sounded like you had made a hornet's nest really, really ticked off, which is kind of why it was called a Buzz division.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the most attractive of sounds, truth be told.
No. In some cases, if some drivers, whether it be asphalt or dirt, if they cut the headers off, cut the exhaust off at a certain point, it can be downright deafening.
Sure. But again, you listen to a four-cylinder at full song versus a V6 at full song. The V6 is preferable. Then you put a V6 up against a V8.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to any Formula One race. Listen to any IndyCar race. And then go listen to any NASCAR race. You tell me which one sounds better.
I'll tell you the ones that sound the best to me. The IMSA prototypes.
There you go.
You can't beat the sound of an IMSA prototype.
By the way, what do they have under the hood?
V8.
Bingo. So, yeah, I'd be happy for them to do it. And just looking at this would be a relatively easy thing to do. Mercedes talks about it. They've got a V8 engine that they could work on, a basic, that they could work on and put it into FIA and Formula One stats. Ferrari's got V8s all over the place. McLaren, technically, if they wanted to be their own works deal, and I know that they don't have it, but if they wanted to, they could too, because road cars for them have V8s.
Mm-hmm.
Red Bull's working with Ford. Ford's got V8s. Alpine doesn't have their own anymore. They used to with Renault, but now they're a customer organization with Mercedes, if I remember right. Haas F1's working with Ferrari, so that's, again, we've already addressed that. Racing Bulls, we talked about their sister company. They are a Ford company. Williams, Mercedes, Audi. They got V8s within the Volkswagen family that they put under the Audi banner. So that's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Aston Martin is your one problem. Cadillac, let me go ahead and mention Cadillac real quick. Cadillac's under the GM banner. I think there's a V8 or two there.
Yeah, there's a few. There's a few.
Aston Martin is your one problem. And I put that in with the rabbit ears comment situation there.
Because of Honda.
It's Honda. Honda doesn't currently build a V8. The funny thing is about 20 years or so ago, when Toyota decided that they were going to join NASCAR, correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't have one either.
No, they developed one for the car side. Now, they had one for the Tundra. They had a V8 base for the Tundra.
Okay.
But for the car side, they had to develop it. I said this on Cross Flags the other day. Outside, well, let me pump the brakes on it. Honda, by technicality, has a blueprint / CAD file / whatever you want to call it for one based off of their Acura program that is now about to be defunct.
True.
They have a blueprint for one.
Let's say this. Yeah, the Acura the Acura sports car program, the IMSA program.
The blueprint's there.
I think they're working on a switch here. I really do.
The blueprint's there. It's the general concept of it. But from AMG Mercedes, Scuderia Ferrari, Ford, GM, Audi, I'll even throw McLaren in there.
Yeah, just for the giggles of it. I mean, they could if they wanted to. I don't know whether they ever have plans to, but they could if they wanted.
I'm pretty sure. I think McLaren's got a hypercar program.
If not in existence right now, it's in development. I can't remember
It's
which.
one of the two.
Yeah.
I said this the other day. If Formula One and the FIA was to pull the trigger and say that on March the 11th, you are clear for development for a V8 program, V8 engine program for Formula One. The resources are everywhere within Detroit, Silverstone, Germany, Italy, France, wherever there is a headquartered base at for each respective Formula One team. Milton Keynes and where Red Bull's at. Okay. I would bet, and the old classics saying, I would bet the farm that by November, there are enough resources from equipment to personnel in each program that a naturally aspirated V8 Formula One engine for each respective engine manufacturer, can be completed and done. You cannot tell me that it will take 4 years to develop one. You can't.
I would find that hard.
Because I know how fast you can build an engine.
Yeah. And all you really need is the specs. Currently, like I said, V6 twin turbo. We know the parameters of this V6 twin turbo that they use in Formula One. It's 1.6 liters. If the teams know this is the displacement of your V8, you have the base V8, you work on the specs, and you build a block.
The way Haas, and it's going to sound like a sponsor plug here, but I'm going to call it. The way the Haas CNC machines are, because they're the only people that make CNC machines in the world. The way they are, punch in a few numbers to a computer, to that machinery, block is getting cut.
Bingo.
Heads are getting cut. Everything is getting cut to whatever specs you plug into there. And here's another thing to where that theory of it's going to take X amount of time to develop a motor is automatically debunked. Okay. What were they talking about last year within Cup? Oh, it's going to take at least a year or so to get a 750 horsepower engine developed. I said on these very platforms of ours, this show and Cross Flags, I could guarantee you if Doug Yates, and I'm going to signal Doug Yates because he's the chief engine builder for Ford Motor Company, whatever that is within the NASCAR ranks. I said, you give Doug Yates the green light, he would have a 750 horsepower engine developed and built and ready within 2 weeks. What were they testing at North Wilkesboro last December? 750s.
Yeah.
Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford had a 750 built.
Ready to go.
Debunked. Don't tell me that it takes, X amount of years. Hogwash.
Yeah.
Complete hogwash.
So go for it. Let's go back to V8s. Hybrid, no hybrid, don't care. Go back to the V8. It sounds better. To the Cup Series here, where NASCAR handed down a penalty to Cup Series driver Ryan Preece last Tuesday. Docked him 25 points, fined him $50,000 for an incident that he had with Ty Gibbs on lap 101 of last weekend's race in Texas, where Preece appeared to get into the back of Gibbs going into turn number 3, in which Gibbs got loose, sent him into the outside wall, ended his race. Well, that's not necessarily why. I mean, these things happen all the time, right? Preece, however, had gotten on the radio and said more than he probably should have. He took exception to a move that Gibbs had made earlier in the race. And on his team radio, he said, all right, when I get to that 54, I'm done with him. And called him an idiot, amongst other things that I can't put on the radio. However, Gibbs then goes into the wall on lap 101, like we said. Preece gets on his team radio, said he didn't feel like he got into the 54. Replays are kind of inconclusive as to whether he did or not. Either way, he certainly took the air off the spoiler. That much, I think we can at least agree on.
Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between physically making contact with another car and taking the air off.
Yeah. Well, NASCAR didn't see it the way that Preece said it. They hit him with the points on the monetary fine. They cited sections 4.3 and 4.4.a, in which it details member conduct specifically related to, quote, wrecking or spinning another vehicle, whether or not that vehicle is removed from competition as a result, unquote. I do find it interesting, however, NASCAR is not commenting on the Kyle Busch, John Hunter Nemechek content for the most part. By the way, RFK Racing is going to appeal the penalty against Preece.
There was no penalty on that one, but here's the thing about this. You can't penalize one and not penalize the other when you see the other one being Kyle Busch deliberately turned right and put the 42 in the wall.
And the funny thing is they're all talking about the SMT data where they're saying that everything kind of refutes what you're saying, that Busch was hard on the brakes and he had it full turn left, according to the SMT data that they're claiming. That's funny. The video, if you watch the replay of the race, doesn't appear to show that.
You don't. I'm sorry, but you do not. You do not have the wheel turn to the left, brakes locked, but the front end of that car goes, sorry.
Not even pushing like a dump truck. Sorry, I just don't agree with it. But NASCAR made their decision. Again, the appeal is underway. We'll see when they hear it, and we'll let you know. RFK Racing has also made it clear that they're in the market for a third charter, one that they want to buy for 2027. Currently, the team does put those 3 full-time rides out on the track. All 3 of them are chartered. 6 for Brad Keselowski, 17 for Chris Buescher. Both of those charters are owned by RFK Racing. Priest's number 60, again, is chartered, but that charter is leased to RFK from Rick Ware Racing. It was the same thing last year. Teams worked it out to have one charter leased this year, last year, and then the other Rick Ware charter leased to them this year, with rules, if you're unfamiliar with them, stating that you can lease out one of your charters for 1 season. And after that season, you either need to take the charter back and use it or sell it. So they just played within the rules. In other words, you read the rule book for what isn't in there, not what is. And they said, okay, so here's the deal. This charter was for this number Rick Ware Racing car. So that's 2025. We'll flip it next year, and it's for the other number Rick Ware Racing car. And they're currently, right now, Rick Ware 51 car still listed as chartered?
51, yes.
Okay.
51.
The other
was the 15 charter.
Continues to go out, and they just reassigned it. It's just, again, reading the rule book for what is and what isn't in there. I don't know whether Rick Ware's going to sell that. That would seem to be the most obvious choice, though.
He could sell that charter for the 51 car and just basically stop the cup side stuff and have an absolutely monstrous NHRA program.
Yeah, because
he's having success in NHRA.
Because at this point in time, this charter, and we talked about this when it came to the IndyCar charters last week, in the fact that they're limiting until 2020. What, 7?
Oh, yeah.
They're limiting the starting field in all races but the Indy 500 to 25 cars. In other words, the 25 chartered cars. There are no open entries anymore. You either have to have a charter to start a race, or you can't start the race unless it's the Indy 500. Not quite the same when it comes to NASCAR, because you can have up to a 40 car up to 41 technically if you use that weird little provisional. But you can have, as a general rule, up to a 40-car starting field where there are 36 charters.
Right.
But now that NASCAR has made those charters permanent, that jumped the value up.
I thought I saw Brad say charter gets for sale. He's expecting no less than 70 million. 70 million.
Good luck. Keselowski was asked about it at Texas Motor Speedway last weekend, told media, quote, "As it stands today, there are no charters that I'm aware of that are for sale. If there was, we would certainly talk to everyone we could think could possibly sell one, and they know our interest. So we'll have to see. It's still May. We don't really need the charter till February of 2027. With that said, we do really need a charter. We know that. We can't control, what we can't control is that there is a finite amount of them. They're not making any more charters, so we can't control that fact that somebody has to be willing to sell it. So first, we'll just have to let the cards play out. And he's not the only team interested in a third charter. Jimmy Johnson's made it clear he would like a third charter for Legacy MC.
And if I remember correctly, that third charter that they have purchased from Ware is the charter that's on the 60.
So is RFK Racing out of NASCAR. I mean, they could still come in and be an open team.
The 60 car.
I guess what I'm saying then is if that's the sale, so Rick Ware's down to 1 pending, would he sell the one that's currently being used by the 51 car and have no charter going into 2027?
Well, with the level of cars that are there, I don't think he's going to have a problem not making races because you're
You sell
lucky.
it for $70 million. You got to.
You're lucky if you see 37, 38 cars on any given weekend.
That's true.
Now, Talladega, Daytona, super speedway races, you're going to see 40, 41 ish, somewhere in there. But you've expanded your NHRA program to 2 cars, 2 top fuel cars.
And they're running well.
And yeah, and they're having some success. I mean, they've got a solid lineup of drivers. Tony Schumacher and Clay Millican. You can't argue with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, expand your NHRA program where you're having success.
Yeah.
Because you're getting the you-know-what end of the stick in NASCAR. I mean, with the exception of a super speedway race, name me one place that the 51 car is relevant.
And then you throw out that they would get, what was the number you said? 70 million.
70 million.
So let's assume that number's right. You get $70 million. That's a pretty good chunk of change to go out there, work on the infrastructure of your Cup Series shop, and still field an open car.
And make fair money.
I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. Meanwhile, RFK Racing's got themselves a little bit more money coming in because, assuming anybody's willing to sell that charter, they can at least use some Modelo money to go get it. RFK has signed Modelo. They are now the official cerveza of RFK Racing. Who knew that was a thing? As such, they'll be a primary sponsor at Watkins Glen this weekend. How long that deal is for or whether the brand's going to appear on the hood of any of the RFK cars in the future wasn't noted. I would presume so. I mean, if they're the official cerveza of RFK, the official beer of RFK Racing, one would think they'd be on the hood more than once and on more than one car.
Yeah. And this is a deceptively good looking car.
I thought so too. Yeah,
the navy and gold and white.
Yeah,
looks really good.
When producer John brings it up on CRN Live on YouTube, take a good close look at it because it's a sharp looking car. Meanwhile, Ryan Blaney not going anywhere anytime soon. He and Team Penske came to terms on a long-term deal, going to keep him in the number 12 Ford for several more years. Details not revealed, but it's said to be a multi-year deal. There's a shock. The signing of Menards as the primary sponsor got aligned with the Blaney deal. The funny thing is that he was appearing on, I think, a weekly appearance for the morning drive on Sirius XM satellite radio NASCAR channel. Mm-hmm. Was that Tuesday morning, I think?
Yes.
He got to break his own news. Mm-hmm. They timed the interview perfectly. He got to break his own news of his own contract extension on that appearance. Mm-hmm. Nicely done. Nothing wrong with that at all. I'm looking, by the way, at a YouTube feed that's a few seconds behind most of others, and I just got another look at the Modelo car. I'm sorry, it's a good-looking car. It just is. It's a good-looking car. Let's see what else is going on. How about the fan vote for the All-Star race rolling on? NASCAR's revealed the top 10 vote getters as of Tuesday, anyway. Top 10 got revealed, and they do this all the time. They do it in alphabetical order, so you can't tell who the actual leader is. It's just these are the people that are vying for it. By the way, these are the drivers that will compete in the All-Star Open, attempting to make the actual race. Winner moves on. Second place move on? Am I right, too?
The winner and second place of the All-Star race move on, plus the
All-Star Open, yeah, and then the fan vote. So you got 3. So if they don't drive their way in, then the top fan vote getter will go in, and right now it is between these 10 drivers. A.J. Allmendinger, Alex Bowman, that's an interesting one, Chris Buescher, Noah Gragson, who is on, a 3-year winning streak on the All-Star Open vote, Eric Jones, Michael McDowell, Ryan Preece, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Daniel Suarez, and Connor Zilisch.
If Zilisch doesn't win the race this weekend,
which would, I think, automatically put him in the All-Star race.
It would automatically be in.
Okay.
It's between, I'm going to say my final 4 out of that would be Allmendinger, Suarez, Gragson, and Zilisch.
Okay. By the way, voting continues up until basically race time for the Open. They will tabulate everything throughout the course of the race, and then whoever doesn't race their way in, top vote getter, then goes on. And then I think this is good for NASCAR. I say I think because I have to admit, I didn't even know this was a group. NASCAR and some other sports, they continue to find ways to work together. The latest example is a personal services contract that has now been signed between one Cup Series driver and Bare Knuckle Boxing. I didn't know that was an organization, but apparently it is, and it's south of the border. It's a partnership between the fighting organization and Daniel Suarez that they say puts two powerful Hispanic stories together. I didn't write the PR thing. They did. Suarez in this role is going to appear at select events for the organization. And on the flip side, he'll be hosting some bare knuckle boxing partners and participants at select NASCAR races. Plus, both sides will produce new content that they hope is going to cross-promote the two sports in hopes of expanding out both audiences. Again, I've never heard of bare knuckle boxing. I didn't know it was a thing.
I didn't either.
So I've never watched an event. All right. I guess we'll find out.
I hadn't either.
I don't know if I'm going to recognize one single solitary name.
Probably not.
There's a part of me that wants to say it's like MMA.
I think it's close to it.
So it's like a Mexican version of MMA. Maybe.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And one more note here, just because I'm not going to spend hardly any time on this at all before we go to break, John Bird. If you're tired of lawsuits, and we here on the show are really tired of this Joe Gibbs Racing versus Chris Gabehart suit, because this is turning into just them being ticked off at each other. By the way, we're not in luck. Judge in this case has set the date for the trial. It's next January. Can we get this thing over with now? By the way, this does split the difference. Joe Gibbs Racing requested a date of November, but Gabehart's defense team wanted a further out timeline. They were requesting next May. Yikes. The judge also issued as part of the trial date order, he put in an interesting paragraph, quote, "The parties are directed to meet and confer and submit to the court within 10 days a joint proposal as to pretrial deadlines as discussed. If the parties are unable to agree on any dates, the parties are directed to note such disagreement in their submission to the court, along with their respective proposed dates." I don't know. How about we take this opportunity to meet and work out a deal?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's this is just taking on a he said, she said kind of deal.
Yeah.
Gibbs is thinking Spire's about to do this and take over their thunder. And, the Spire's success is because of Gabehart being over there. So you mean to tell me a car winning a super speedway race, which is a game of luck, is all because of somebody came over? Nope.
Yeah.
Sorry, but no.
Do me a favor, you two. Just sign the divorce papers. Welcome back into the show here in hour number 2, cruising on through it, and want to thank our fine friends out at Siluria Brewing Company for being a partner with us here at CRN. Danny Sample and everybody out there, great hosts for us on Jawbone Jams in previous years and probably will be again in the near future. I get to be down there each and every Friday night hosting a music trivia game, 7 o'clock on Friday evening. It's a lot of fun if you ever get the chance to do that. They got regular trivia on Tuesday nights. They're even open on Sunday afternoons sometimes. And the best way, truth be told, to know what's going on any particular night is to just follow them on like Facebook or X, and they'll let you know, especially on those Sundays, because sometimes are listed as sometimes that they're open. Just kind of depends on how much work they got done or what might need to be done. And if they just happen to be there, they'll like, yeah, let's open up the doors and, serve some people. So, yeah, make sure that you're following Siluria Brewing Company on social media. And that way, again, you can check out when they're open on Sundays if you have a hankering to go out and check it out. And they got a lot of great local craft brews. They also do some wines. They do some hard ciders. And they've usually got something really good sports-wise on TV as well. So go and check them out. And they're located at 145 First Avenue West in Alabaster. Great place to go and hang out, Siluria Brewing Company. To the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, and kind of a weird little story, and this isn't a Josh Williams problem, other than the fact he kicks him out of the car. In that case, it's a problem. Josh Williams not going to be driving that number 92 DGM Motorsports Chevrolet this weekend at Watkins Glen, and according to the team, it, again, has nothing to do with what Williams either has or has not done. It's a sponsor problem. Williams, who has qualified for each and every race this year in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, but missed the races at COTA and Phoenix due to a problem, lack of speed, basically. He sits 28th in points. He's attempted to qualify, I should say, for every race this year. Missed COTA and Phoenix. Team stated that the problem is, quote, a newly onboarded partner failing to meet its contractual obligations. In other words, they didn't pay. And basically it forces them to switch drivers to somebody who had a check in hand.
Yeah, pretty much.
What this means is they're going to put in a driver by the name of Alex Gwinnett, I assume that's how you pronounce it, into the car. He'll bring sponsorship from a software company. 30-year-old Canadian native has seen 7 starts in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series to his credit, but none since 2023. He's a regular in the NASCAR Canada Series, so it's not like he's a stock car novice. But again, he's got limited experience in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series itself. But he's at Watkins Glen. I would imagine he probably has some experience there.
He's a solid road course racer. Very solid.
Mario Goslin, who's the DGM team owner, said this week, quote, this is an incredible opportunity for Alex. Terribly difficult situation for our team. Business aside, Josh is like a son to me, and I hate that we cannot keep him in the seat this weekend. Came into the season with strong commitments that we believed were going to elevate our program and position our team for success. But those don't come to fruition. When those don't come to fruition, tough decisions have to be made in order to protect the future of our program and ensure its long-term stability. Added that Williams' contract actually is not affected. He's expected to run the vast majority of the races remaining on the 2026 schedule, and I guess it just depends on the unnamed sponsor that they decided not to call out, probably because, hey, you didn't pay your bill, so we're not going to give you free publicity by any stretch.
Yep.
I can't blame them for that.
No, you can't.
All right. Well, I hate it for Josh.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that gets hurt really in this.
He does.
So I hate it for him.
He does.
You want to talk about a personality. Josh Williams. If you've not had the chance to look up Josh Williams and his personality, you're missing out. You're missing out. He's fun. All right. So to the truck series here where McAnally Hilgeman Racing debuted their driver development truck yesterday at Watkins Glen. Tony Breidinger was behind the wheel of the number 20 Chevrolet Silverado. Celsius as the sponsor.
And she DNQ'd.
Supposed to be. The truck is going to feature several drivers at different tracks throughout the course of the season. Breidinger's supposed to get back in the truck when we get the series back to Phoenix later on in this year. Past this weekend, McAnally Hilgeman Racing's number 20 truck is going to feature a series of drivers, not the least of which, ARCA Menard Series West regular Mason Massey. He'll debut in the truck series at Richmond with the assistance of sponsor Mongoose Power Solutions. It's planned to be Massey's first race of a number through the end of the year, but his schedule hasn't been revealed in detail. Are these the only 2 drivers right now that NHR has listed? Okay.
For this truck right now.
So we only know of 4 races, including yesterday, which again, as you mentioned, was a DNQ. She didn't qualify for the race. One would think if you're doing a driver development truck, you'd want it out there more.
Yeah. Here's my issue with this. You had Realm that put Natalie Decker in the 22.
Mm-hmm.
You got McAnally Hilgeman that put Bridinger in the 20. McAnally Hilgeman truck is on paper. Word it this way: on paper,
I see where you're going with this.
significantly quicker than a Realm truck.
Yeah, it should be.
Significantly quicker.
Yeah, on paper, it should be a significantly better truck.
But why are, and with you having Celsius as a sizable sponsor,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they paid a pretty good penny for that.
you have a sizable sponsor on a fifth truck at a road course with a driver that a road course is not their strongest suit.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem.
Why? But in turn, Natalie Decker was parked before the end of the first stage for not meeting minimum speed. Why?
Tony Bridinger, I have a harder time explaining. Again, I get it. She's not, road course racing isn't her strength. Why would you put her in a truck at a place where arguably she's going to be at her weakest?
I would have put that truck on the track next week at Dover versus here.
Yeah, it probably would have actually suited her better.
It would have.
Okay. Natalie Decker is somebody who baffles me. And congratulations on starting the family. Love it. Think it's great. Where are your priorities? And I ask this question very, very pointedly because she insists she wants to make a career out of racing in NASCAR at the top levels, one of the top 4, if we include the ARCA Menard series, of NASCAR. But every time we talk about Natalie Decker, she's at the back of the pack. Sooner or later, that has to come bite you in the butt, meaning eventually you get pulled out of the ride because you're not performing. There is an attraction, and I get it. There is an attraction to having a female driver behind the wheel of a top-level NASCAR race car. I understand that.
Yeah.
But in the end, the bottom line is this. How are you performing? I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what gender is checked on your regular driver's license. Sooner or later, it comes down to on-the-track performance. And I'm sorry, Natalie Decker, who's great at PR and great at showing off pictures of herself and crazy pictures with other people, is not performing on the track.
I will say this right now. There is a 16-year-old kid that I personally know that lives in Talladega County, Alabama. That is a motorsports nut. The kid loves it. Mm-hmm. He loves it. He's always communicating with me about what I think about this, what I think about that. Sending me this, sending me that, which is fine. When it comes to someone at that level that loves that stuff,
sure,
I'll talk to you all day long.
100%.
Okay. If I was Josh Rayom, I would have put him in that truck before Natalie Decker because I can almost promise you he would have turned a faster lap than Natalie Decker did. 1. 2, he would not have lost the lap by lap 7.
Oh, dang.
She was a lap down by lap 7. Practice. She was 10-10. Tango, Echo, November. 10 seconds off of Brent Cruz's time.
Ow.
But I will say this too. If they had qualified and they would have let them qualify, which I think was astronomically stupid that they didn't, Destiny Spurlock would have put the MBM truck in the field and would have outshined her tenfold.
I agree. So here's the deal, Natalie. It's time to fish or cut bait. You love your family. You love taking pictures. Show me that kind of zeal and ambition behind the wheel. Period. IndyCar has finally released their report on their internal investigation on that push-to-pass situation that we talked about, the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. Real quick reminder, it was where that push-to-pass system was left on during a late race restart, but it's not supposed to be. Well, the officials, credit to themselves, they turned the finger at themselves because, as they say, if you're going to point at somebody, 3 other fingers are pointing right back at you, right? In this case, they took the blame, and they're right in that the officiating crew is supposed to ensure that it is turned off. They reconfirmed there will be no penalties handed out to the dozen drivers who took advantage of the system being left on when it was done because it was their fault. And we have heard ever since this came to be controversy a couple of years ago that there are drivers who know it's supposed to be turned off, but they'll hit that push-to-pass button on every single restart anyway, just in case. Because what do drivers do? They're looking for an edge. You know that better than anybody.
Find it however you can get it.
So this has now resulted in a new rule. On road and street course races, the system will be left on for all restarts once the system is officially turned on the first time in the race. It will not be turned off again until the race is over. Again, only at road and street course races. The pressure now shifts to the drivers not to use the system during restricted times. Well, you by gosh better detail those in perfect black and white.
You better.
And maybe highlighted. Because if you don't, you got 25 drivers out there who are going to take advantage of it every chance they get. So you better make sure. In addition, the rules state that the driver's not allowed to pass before the restart line. That's fairly typical. The amount of time that the system can be implemented on a single push isn't going to change. In other words, the drivers just can't hold the button down as long as they want. And this rule goes into effect immediately. It'll be implemented for this weekend's event at the Indy Road Course for both IndyCar and Indy Next. Does not affect the oval track races like the upcoming Indy 500. So in other words, the officials now have to remember, once again, turn the system off, turn it back on if push to pass is available because at some oval tracks it's not. It's too short.
Yep.
I want to say Indy 500 does because of the long straight. No. Okay. So there you go. Let's go ahead and take our final break here, John Bird. When we come back, if you're looking forward to the Indy 500, even if you don't watch any other IndyCar race throughout the course of the year, most people, if you're going to watch one, it'll be the Indy 500. It's Memorial Day weekend. It gets by far the biggest ratings of any of them. Well, Fox has said how much time they're going to devote to coverage of the Indy 500. And amongst them is something that actually debuted last night. We'll tell you about that when we come back right after this on CRN.
$3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-896-8155. 800-896-8155. 800-896-8155.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Final segment of this Mother's Day edition of CRN getting underway here, and I'm Steve West, Matt Nicholson right there. We are on the flagship radio station, Talk 99.5, with John Bird as our producer. We're also on CRN Live on YouTube and Talk 99.5 on YouTube as well, Real Talk 99.5. So we're basically as many places as we can possibly get on this Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there and to all the dads and the kids and everybody else. Take care, Mom, please.
Yep.
It is Indy 500 month, as the month of May always is, and Fox Sports has decided that they're going to devote some 60 hours of programming in all to Indy 500 coverage. That's a pretty good amount.
It's not bad.
Not bad at all. Fox Sports 1, as part of that month full of coverage about IndyCar leading up to the 110th, I think, running of the famed race. New documentary on the life of Indy 500 winner Bobby Rahal. Documentary produced by Chassis Media is entitled Bobby Rahal, True American Racer. First aired last night after the Truck Series race. Will air more as the month goes along, as Rahal's win in the world's famous event happened some 40 years ago this year. The project, according to director and editor Travis Long, has been some 4 years in the making, started back in 2022. It's been edited for Fox Sports 1, mostly to concentrate on his IndyCar career. However, a longer version is set to come out later this year that will go through his entire racing career. You said you watched the Truck Series race yesterday afternoon and then stuck around, watched this edition, the IndyCar concentrated part of the documentary.
Yes.
And?
I won't spoil it for anybody else that wants to watch it, but it was very good.
Okay.
They did a very good job on it.
For people who are not necessarily IndyCar fans, can they find something in this that they're going to be fascinated with?
I think so.
Okay.
I think they can.
I mean, in the end, Bobby Rahal is a racer's racer. He's one of those guys,
Right.
if I remember his story correctly, he's not exactly born into it with a silver spoon or a silver gear shift, if you want to put it that way, in his mouth.
Oh, yeah. That's a good way to put it.
He had to work his way up through this and bust his butt to do it.
He did, and he did it the right way.
So there you go. That'd be that. We herald those guys in any sport, literally, in any different division, if you want to put it another way, to be able to build yourself up from not really having that racing heritage to be able to go out there and do that. That's a cool story.
Yeah, it is.
I look
Very
forward
cool.
to checking it out.
Very cool.
And then we go to Formula E, and we've kind of accrued actually quite a bit of Formula E news here. So we're going to kind of get into it here. A couple of weeks ago, Formula E CEO Jeff Dodds got to talking to the media about the Gen 4 series of cars that are set to make their on-track debut in competition next season. They're about to start testing. Most of the teams have unveiled their cars already. It doesn't make any sense to show you the pictures because, truth be told, they don't look radically different from the Gen 3 cars. There's a slight difference, but not much. Next generation of the race car is going to be a little bit bigger, maybe more importantly, more powerful than any previous generation. Dobbs said of this, quote, "When we first saw the FIA's kind of parameters and what they thought was possible in the upgrade to the Gen 4 car, obviously this included lap time, potential lap time reductions, increases in power, and more. Their targets on paper based upon what people simulate the technology's capable of. So I really wasn't surprised that we got to where we got to because broadly, they were the targets that were being set at the start of this project." All right. So in other words, you set a high goal and apparently you attained it.
Good for them.
Knock it out, brother.
Good for them.
FIA officials who've been monitoring the progress of the new cars with the new regulations feel like the car has met all of its targets, but do note that the drivers that had the chance to do some preliminary runs have stated they have really enjoyed the Gen 4 car, and that came as something of a surprise because they were expecting the drivers to talk about all the bugs that needed to be worked out. I get the funny feeling we just haven't found those bugs yet.
Yeah, they're probably going to show themselves at the worst time possible.
More than likely. So that's why you do all of this testing.
Yep.
So here comes the second situation that regards the Gen 4 cars. Ever since this series debuted, one of the bigger oddities, other than the fact that all you hear is this the whole time.
Yeah.
Say for race number 1, when Fox had the coverage of the series, and they didn't know what to expect, so they just ran a generic music bed under the entirety of the race. That was weird. But one of the other oddities, if you ever watch a Formula E race, if you can find it, they all run treaded tires. And they have since the beginning.
Which makes no sense to me.
I get it if you happen to have rain.
Well, yeah.
Formula One does it, IndyCar does it, and heck, now NASCAR's doing it. They've got the rain tires ready to go at Watkins Glen, and they might have to use them.
Yep.
I get that, but to just every single race, regardless, you're on treaded tires the whole time?
I've never understood that one.
Now that you've got this much more power, because you're at least 50% again what you already have going from Gen 3 to Gen 4, maybe more.
Right.
Why don't we use racing slicks? All of the series that we cover, say Formula E, have racing slicks. And now, as time has started to roll on, more and more drivers are kind of asking the same question that we've been asking for 10 years of Formula E. It's even bigger to drivers like the aforementioned Felipe Drugovich. We talked about him. He racked up a top 10 in Berlin in race number 2 of the Berlin E-Prix doubleheader weekend last weekend. He said with this new, more powerful Gen car coming into play, quote, qualifying time is going to change a lot. The car is going to become a lot quicker. I think that's just the spectacle of seeing those cars ripping around the circuit, and it's going to be a lot nicer. So it is something that Formula E needs, talking about racing slicks. I think the one thing that it really needs at the moment is slick tires. The fans, until the point that they don't see a slick tire in the car, they're not going to take it as a popular Formula car. Some of them, at least as some people already do, I think once we have them, then the series is going to be complete.
I don't take it as a proper
There you go.
proper Formula car because it doesn't have an internal combustion engine. It runs off a giant Duracell.
Okay. Now, he said that, and I don't disagree with him. So why are we covering this series? Well, 10 years ago, when this got to be talking about, we got to talking about it initially, and we were like, oh, this ought to be an interesting thing. So we followed it as a curiosity, thinking, can it really last? Surprise, surprise, it has.
Yeah.
And the FIA recognizes it as an official World Championship Series. So, yeah, I do understand it, and there's a market all around the world for electric cars, and if you're into it, knock yourself out. But right now, you're looking at a market share between 25 and 33%, give or take, depending on where you are in the world. That's probably the limit, truth be told, for purchasing an electric car.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there are people that are just 100% sold on it. If you're one of them, go for it. Happy. Love it. And it's part of the reason why we cover this as well, because it is a major racing series as recognized by the FIA. But again, if you're going to put this much power on the track, go back and watch. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. I actually saw one about IndyCar trying to go to Daytona and drive and race there right after Daytona opened. Go find that on YouTube. That's a fascinating one too. But the first race at Talladega, 1969, the well-known boycott race.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd they want to boycott it? Because they felt like the tires were going to come apart. Why? They weren't racing slicks.
Mm-hmm.
They were afraid the tires were just literally going to come apart. And you know what? Tires at that point in time weren't built to do what they can do or even could do back then at Talladega.
True.
Okay? Sooner or later, they're going to build a generation of Formula E racer that is going to outperform what the tires are capable of doing.
Yep.
If you keep them with treads.
It's coming.
Or treads or grooves or whatever.
It's coming.
And it may be here. I don't know. Right now, they're running Hankook tires. I think they change with the Gen 4 car to another tire provider. There's a part of me that wants to say it might be BF Goodrich, which, by the way, is a parent company of Firestone. No, that's Bridgestone. I'm sorry.
Bridgestone.
Okay, so they are going to Bridgestone. So effectively, Bridgestone will have both the IndyCar Series and Formula E.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Bridgestone, I'm contacting Formula E and saying, hey, listen, why don't we just go ahead and put some slicks on here?
Might as well. Might as well. Why not?
You're building up this power to that extent. Just do it. Mitch Evans, who has been with Jaguar since the 2016 season, but after a decade, these two are going to split. Evans and Jaguar, very successful relationship. 15 wins, 36 podium finishes, 10 pole positions. Usually finds himself in title contention. All that comes to an end after this season's done. Ian James, Jaguar, his team principal said this, quote, both Mitch and the team have reached a decision together. Oh, is that how that goes? It's the mutual leave or get fired sort of thing. Evans added, quote, I'm grateful to Jaguar for the opportunity to race such an iconic brand and will be giving my all to win the Drivers' World Championship this season. No word on what either Evans or Jaguar has planned for the 2026-2027 season. But I do know one seat at least that's going to come open. Lucas Degrassi's. Degrassi has been in Formula E since its inception back in 2014. He was actually the first driver to commit to the series and is one of the most successful ones in their relatively short history. In his time in the series, he has 13 wins, 41 podium finishes, 4 pole positions. He's accumulated the most championship points of any driver in Formula E history at 1,077. He also won the 2016-2017 season championship. But this season will be his last one in the series. He announced his retirement pens at the end of this year, released a statement said in part, quote, after a lifetime dedicated to racing, 2026 will mark my final season as a professional racing driver and the beginning of a new chapter. What that chapter might be, don't know. Degrassi hasn't said yet. I imagine we'll find out at some point in time not too long from now.
Mm-hmm.
As far as that 2016-2017 title, the man that Degrassi battled for that title, Sebastian Buemi, is the only other driver to have been in the series since its beginning. But he doesn't appear ready to move on just yet. He was recently asked about his future. He replied he liked the look of the Gen 4 cars that he's seen, looks forward to driving them. He's also in the beginnings of a multi-year deal with Envision Virgin Racing, what used to be Envision Virgin, now just Envision. So I guess Buemi's going to be around for at least a couple more years.
Yeah.
So again, this leaves this Jaguar seat open. Mitch Evans, anybody?
Well, I can go get my passport out.
Or you could do that.
Yeah.
And then there's one of the American teams. We talked about Andretti Global now. They're kind of languishing in the middle of the pack in Formula E standings right now. Then there's DS Penske. And this team has undergone changes over the course of time. And it's about to undergo another one. DS Penske Racing is set to soldier on, even though DS Automobiles, which is a largely European brand, just to let you know, they're leaving the series altogether. Seems the Penske Racing team's not only willing to go it themselves, beginning with the Gen 4 era, they're going to become a full works team like it was back when it was Dragon Racing when the series debuted back in 2014. The DS Automobile organization joined with Penske for 2022, switched the name from Dragon to Penske, and it seems like he'll continue to race under his own given name. But apparently they've been working on a new power unit for some time now. Likely would have gone into action whether or not DS left the team or stayed, according to Jay. I don't think that's a bad move.
No.
And we've seen that team progressively work themselves up the standings. So good luck to Jay. Hopefully it works out well. We appreciate you checking us out. Always check us out on all the social medias. CRN Live on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. To all the moms out there, once again, we wish you a very happy Mother's Day.